And if we go to the Oz, the headline there, Big Carbon Club Must Cut to PM. A story here by Greg Brown and Dennis Shanahan. Scott Morrison says reducing emissions in China, India and other developing nations is the only way to avoid catastrophic climate change, arguing his plan to tackle global warming through technology, not taxes, will help drive clean energy uptake in emerging nations after a UN report released on Monday said it was now unequivocal that human activity was driving global warming. The Prime Minister said Australia would be part of the solution but would not write a blank cheque to set an emissions target without a plan to achieve it. I think Morrison's rhetoric on this plays out pretty well with the so-called quiet Australians. I think most Australians are sensible enough to realise that if we go after some, ambitious emissions target in the future and we reach it but the country goes broke, that's not exactly what we want. While at the same time, and this is the most fanciful thing I've heard this year, China setting a zero emissions target by 2060. I mean, seriously.
Let's not embrace the idea that everybody who backs targets, these global targets that are set, are doing them and backing in that altruistically for the betterment of the world. People are hijacking these reports for their own political gain and their own political narrative. Morrison, of course, has to balance the needs of Australian industry and it has to balance the position that Australia has a very small country in the world. And, of course, what's little known is that Australia is in a really strategic position in terms of our very close relationship with India, and that is highly regarded by the United States as they look to Australia to influence other nations in the region that are huge emitters, including China, when our diplomatic efforts and perhaps our relationship was less testy than it is now. But certainly we have a very close relationship with India. If the world is going to move towards pragmatic targets that can be met by developing economies and major developed economies, Australia will have a strategic role in helping the Biden administration bring that along. There's a lot of geopolitical interests at play here, and we're not stuck out there on our own, as is made out to be in the press. We are actively engaging with the global community on this issue.
Two stories on the front page of the Courier Mail I want to talk to you about, Kristy. The first is the splash, and I mean, this, there are some stories that come along that leave you speechless, and this is one of those with this beautiful little girl, a perfect little girl. Heartbreak. Mia's family remember their angel. The parents of 5-month-old Mia, who died after her mother fell while trying to avoid a swooping magpie, have been left inconsolable by the loss of a little girl who was perfect from her head full of hair to her tiny little nose and her little long toes. And, of course, only one magpie was removed from a Brisbane suburb by council in the months leading up to the tragic death of a baby girl. And Lord Mayor Adrian Schrinner has vowed to get answers on Sunday's tragic incident. I mean, it's just the worst imaginable tragedy, sliding doors moment, which just has devastated that poor little girl's family.
It is a tragic accident, and of course in these circumstances people are looking for blame, and that blame has fallen on the council. I don't know enough about this story to undertake whether there was blame on the council or not, but it is understandable that the family is looking for answers and trying to seek a reason for what seems to be just a really, really terribly tragic accident.